Welcome back to the next video. In today's video I will show you how to do background operations using WorkManager for your Flutter app. So this is specifically for Android. So what we will do in our background operations is that we will call an API, and that API will get some data. We will store it inside preferences data store. So if you don't know what preferences data store is, it is basically used to store key value data pair, key value data. And I have already done a video on preferences data store for Flutter. If you are curious, you can check that out. But once that data is stored, we will immediately display that data. So what I will do is I will run my application and I will immediately close it, and the background operation will run after some time. So I'm using one-time request. So typically it fires immediately, but it is not guaranteed. It depends on the OS. The OS can take however many time it want. If there are some constraints which are getting matched, then only the OS will fire background operation for your app. And also I have added an initial delay of 20 seconds purposefully, because I can immediately close the app and show it to you, okay, that the background data, like background operations, are performing in my app. So what I'll do is I'll run my app. I don't have the app installed, and once the app is installed, I will immediately close it, and I will wait for around 30 seconds. The background operation should get fired, and after 30 seconds, once I reopen the app again, I should be able to see the data which is stored inside my preferences data store inside my app. So let's see. Also I'm using one-time work request. I will make a separate video on how to do periodic requests. So what is one-time request is that once you open the app, so I'll explain one-time request in a bit. So the app is installed. Let it come online. So here I'm just displaying a toast message. So here you can see currently we don't have any data. I will completely close the app. Okay, I'll go over here. Now I will wait for around 30 seconds, and if you want, you can unfortunately you won't be able to see the logs because we have completely removed our app. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't for the logs part. So I'm not really sure. Let's see if we are getting any logs. Okay, so we are getting logs. So I have purposefully added this log. Now what I'll do is I will run the app again. Like manually opening the app won't work because of Flutter's limitation, because I'm not running it via the CLI, right, like Flutter, and I'm directly running it via Android. So here you can see that data was inserted, which you saw over here. Now another one-time request got fired because I have opened the app again, right? And if I try to wait it for some period of time, you will see that this title will get changed after some time. The title won't get changed, sorry, because we are calling the same API, so it is giving us the same title. But what I'll do is I'll just change this to different API. Okay, I'll rerun my app, and even if the app is in the foreground, the background operations can fire, but again it depends on the OS. So it's not guaranteed that, like in my case, it got fired immediately because I think I'm using one-time request. But again, it's not guaranteed that even if you're using one-time request, that the API will get fired immediately. So here you can see this is the previous data, but I have changed the API, right? So after I think 30 seconds, you should be able to see some other title being displayed in my app. If you want, you can put the app in background mode as well, but here you can see the data got displayed. Now again, just for your sake, I'll rerun the app again, and I will again put it in the background. Okay, so here you can see this previous data. I will immediately close the app. Okay, I think now we won't get the logs because the process ended. I think sometimes, like I told you, sometimes the logs work, sometimes it doesn't. This is a limitation of Flutter because I'm not running via the CLI like Flutter, and I'm directly running it via Android Studio. And if you know, in the debug mode, like Flutter requires a server, like internally it manages a server for a hot restart and hot reload, all those kind of stuff. Okay, I think it is still printing logs. Okay, that's good. Let's see if it has printed the title. So it has printed the title. So here you can see now I'm getting different title. Now if I run the app, I should see this title in my app. because I'm storing it inside my preferences data store once that is from the API. So here you can see I'm getting this particular title. So yeah, let's get started. The only disadvantage of this tutorial is that everything is done via native code. It's impossible to do it via Dart or from the Flutter side. So yeah, that's a big limitation. So again, it depends on you what kind of operation you want to run it on background, but here I'm just calling an API and saving it inside my preferences data store. Also, the second thing which I have noticed is that I was trying to use Dagger Hilt, which is a dependency injection used on the native Android side, but I couldn't figure it out. I was constantly getting Gradle issues with that, but I have figured it out for React Native as well as for native Android. But here inside a Flutter app for the native code, I'm directly creating objects, which is not a good practice. But yeah, it is what it is. Like, I'm not able to get the Dagger Hill to work with Flutter. I'm not really sure what the issue is. Like, I tried searching for that particular issue, but I wasted a lot of my time, and later on I just gave up. But I think it's fine, like if you just have one background operation, but yeah, it's your choice. So here you can see I have created a Flutter project. Next, inside main.dart, all I have done is that I have refactored my homepage widget. I have created an event channel for data loaded. So once we have data inside my preferences data store, I'm sending it back from native Android side to a Flutter side. And here you can see we are subscribing to our event, and here I'm manipulating that particular variable, and here inside the text I'm just displaying that variable, whatever is saved. Okay, and inside WorkManager, like I have told you, I'm using one-time request. I will make a separate video on periodic request. So what one-time request does is, so suppose I open my app now today and I closed my app completely, then suppose after 1 hour the one-time request got fired. That's it, done. Given that this is a one-time request, now now if you want to sync, if you want this background operation to run again, the user will have to open the app again, because this is one-time request is called inside the onCreate method of our main activity, right? That's why if you don't want this, I will check out my periodic request builder, which I will soon upload like in the future. But yeah, by the time you guys will be watching this video, I think that video should be up as well. So yeah, that's the disadvantage of one-time request. So it gets fired only once, and if this background operation needs to be fired again, the user will have to reopen the app. Then only this background operation will be queued, and it will be depending on the OS when to fire this background operation. So first, what you will have to do is go to your build.gradle file, and here I am using Kotlin 1.9.0. okay, make sure you have this as well. Like here you can see I was trying to use Hilt, but Dagger Hilt, but it wasn't working, so you don't need to use this. Next, inside my Gradle.properties, okay, Gradle wrapper, I think it is 7.5, but if you want you can update it to 8.2 as well. Like, I tried updating to 8.2 I think for Dagger Hill, but even that wasn't working. And inside build.gradle over here, no, not this one, this one. So here you will have to add I think no, nothing over here. Like, these were just Dagger Hill dependency which I had to comment out later on. And here I am using Target SDK version 34 as well as Compile SDK version 34 as well, because these dependencies require 34 version. And here this is for WorkManager for doing background operation. Retrofit is used for making API calls, just like we have HTTP on the Dart or Flutter side. And data store is used for storing key value data in preferences data store. And this lifecycle thing I am using just for coroutine support, Kotlin coroutines. Next, what I have done, you will have to go to your Android manifest file. Firstly, I have added this internet permission because I am making a background like a REST API call for my background operations. That's why. But your background operation might differ, like you might be doing something else. And here inside Android name, you will have to refer this my application class, which we will create shortly. So do that. Next, you also need to add this provider. So this is added because for WorkManager initialization, even I don't really fully understand this, but we need to add this. Okay, next first we'll go to demo API. So here I am calling my API. So if you have an API endpoint, apart from the base URL, you can enter the rest of the endpoint over here. It is a get request, and the response, in response we get a post data class. So here if you see, this is my post data class, and I was just using the title in my case, but if you want you can use user ID, whatever makes sense to you. Next, if you go to network module, so here is the base URL for my API. This is an open source API which you can use. So here we have to first create an HTTP client for our retrofit. This JSON converter is used for converting JSON in Android, and here we have to provide our retrofit instance as well as provide our API service. So yeah, pretty much boilerplate code. Next, here inside my preferences.kt, I am using this data store for storing key value data, but if you want you can use a room database as well if you are storing a large amount of data from your API. I have also done a video on how to use room database in Flutter, so if you are curious you can check that out. So this here you can see I'm saving some data and I'm getting some data, and this is used for creating a singleton, and this is our preferences data store. Next, if you go to custom worker, here you can see, so here is the exact logic which you have to write for doing background operations. So I have created a custom worker, and here I'm extending from coroutine worker because this is a long running operation, so API call can take a lot of time, and we are overriding this do work method. And here you can see I'm making the API call over here, and if the API call is successful, then I'm just logging it inside my console, as well as I'm storing it inside preferences data store. And if something goes wrong, then I'm asking WorkManager to retry. And if suppose the user does not have network connectivity and the OS decides to run our background operation, and if we get unknown host exception, then also I'm asking it to retry. But there are some constraints as well while using WorkManager, like you can tell the OS that okay, only when the user has proper network connectivity, then only run this background operation. I will show you that as well. Like I have not applied constraints in this use case, but I'll show you how to apply, and in case something else go wrong, I'm just doing a failure sort of thing. Okay, and so I've shown you demo API. So now let's go to my application. So here you have to create this my application class, which also extends from configuration.provider, and here I have created a configuration builder, and I have set the worker factory as well. And here as you can see, I'm directly creating objects, which is not really a good practice, but again Daggerhill was giving a lot of issues with Flutter, that's why I couldn't figure it out. And here you can see you have to create this custom worker factory class for instantiating our custom worker as well. Next, you will have to go to main activity, and here what I have done, like I have created our network event channel, which will help us to send data from native Android side to Flutter side. And I have also created this attach event, and I have created my preferences as well. So here we are initializing our preferences data store, and here I am initializing our network event channel. And once it is initialized, I am calling retrieve data. So if you see, retrieve data helps us to get the data which is saved inside our preferences data store, and once the data is present, I am sending it back to Flutter side. And if you see here, we are doing one time request, and I don't do this set initial delay. This was just for development purposes because I wanted to show you guys the output. And back off criteria, I have set it as linear and duration of 15 seconds. And if you want this background operation to run only when there is proper connectivity, you can add a constraint like this and on comment this. There are other type of constraints as well, like set requires charging when the device is idle, require storage not low, all this kind of stuff, but I have kept it simple. And here we are enqueuing our work request. Yeah, I think that should be it. Thank you for watching. Bye.